Welcome to The Honest Media. Today is Thursday, February 1st, 2018. We've got a lot to talk about today. This is, of course, the week of the State of the Union speech. There's a lot of kind of political fallout surrounding that. Later in the episode, we'll be joined by InfoWars reporter Dan Lyman to discuss some of the topics that have been big in Europe and around the world today. But first, we're going to revisit a story we first covered a couple weeks ago. We have Adam Kokesh here joining us by phone. He was, of course, arrested under extremely suspicious circumstances in Texas. We had an interview with his campaign manager, Angela Fisher Owens, a couple weeks ago. She kind of gave us the rundown. Adam is since out of Texas. He is out of jail, and he is here to tell us exactly what happened in his own words. So, Adam, thank you for joining us today. I want to just open the floor to you.
Well, Tom, it's an honor to be on again, and I appreciate the opportunity to tell this story because it's one that I think every American needs to hear, not just because I think every American needs to hear our platform, which is the way forward for America, but that there is a particularly vile strain of tyranny that we experience as a result of the war on drugs, which is not a war on plants or powders. It's a war on drug users, which means that it's a war on you.
Right.
And the platform of my campaign, I am running for president as a Libertarian in 2020, currently the leading candidate, and it is to peacefully and orderly and responsibly dissolve the entire United States federal government, leaving us with 50 independent states, territories, and now finally sovereign native nations. So obviously this is a threat to a lot of people, and my message of peace and love and unity based on respect for individual rights, based on voluntarism, all human relationships being free of force, fraud, and coercion, this is a threat to the power structure at its most fundamental level. And even in the past, when I've challenged powers, as I think one of your producers mentioned about the Jefferson Dance Party, where we danced in civil disobedience at the Jefferson Monument to show that when the government says you can't dance here, it means when they say that, then they'll use violence against you if you dance there. And thanks to the United States Park Police and the videos that went viral from that, we succeeded beyond our wildest dreams because I was picked up from behind and choke slammed and had a knee slammed into my ribs. But of course, you want to hear about this most recent story, and this is all relevant background because it was within an hour of announcing our presidential campaign, actually within a few minutes, that I was first pulled over.
Wow. And
then about 40 minutes after that I was pulled over again in the same county by Trooper Garcia, state trooper, in the great, you know what, it's almost demeaning to call it the great state of Texas. I think I would do it a greater honor to call it the great Republic of Texas, because there is a true secessionist sentiment here that is really beautiful, that people want government, at least, they don't want to be controlled by the federal government. They know that it's ridiculous that people from San Francisco are writing laws for people in San Antonio. That just doesn't make sense. It's an affront to our innate human right to self-determination. So again, part of my platform, rather part of the basis of it, is this idea of localization, that we can decentralize power, get it down to the community and ultimately the individual level. And that's when we have a society of universal nonviolence, of respect for individual rights and of freedom. So when I was pulled over, and the timing is just the first part of the suspiciousness of this encounter, because if you watch the video, and I was very fortunate, I was able to capture this on Facebook Live. I was able to press post at the end of the recording and get it up there and hold the officers accountable, at least through that means, from the very get-go.
Sure.
But you could tell that procedure was being violated, that the officer who detained me and arrested me was determined to send me to jail.
Right. He
was not there to, he said he was going 74 in a 65, which is possible, but it was a speed trap area, and the RV, No Force One, that I travel in,
I love
as a speed limiter that usually kicks in about 73. So,
oh, really?
you know, being on cruise, it's impossible to get it to go faster than about 73 miles an hour. But, you know, hey, we know that because government has given cops legal protection from dishonesty, cops are allowed to lie to citizens with impunity. There's no accountability for that. The Supreme Court has ruled. And in a sense, it kind of makes sense, but they should still be held accountable when they're lying and hurting people. You know, it's one thing, like, you know, lying is wrong, just like hitting someone is wrong, but you can hit someone in the face. It's okay if it's in self-defense. You know, similarly, if someone has a gun to your head and you say, hey, look, there's an airplane, you know, and they look away, I'm not going to say that it's a bad thing to lie if it allows you to knock the gun out of their hand.
Absolutely.
So, you know, in that sense, I'm not saying cops should never lie, or people, I mean, cops shouldn't work for government. They should work for the people. That's a big part of my message. We want people who genuinely want to serve public safety to not have to have the government as the middleman between them and the people. But when that happens, you end up with, you know, a lot of corrupt people, because you have these corrupt incentives. And so even people who join the police force who are well-intentioned end up being corrupted, generally by war on drug policies that say, you know, well, we can do whatever we want to violate your Fourth Amendment rights to privacy and protection against unreasonable search and seizure. In this case, I don't want to go through so much, because you can go back and watch the videos. They're on my YouTube channel, on my DTube channel. That's from steamit.com. If you go check out my feed there, that's the new blockchain-based social media. You can see all the videos from the arrest.
Right.
And so the way I see it, there are only a few possibilities in how this went down. And one is that it truly was just a coincidence. Total coincidence, you know. Hard to believe that the timing being, you know,
Libertarian presidential candidate
campaign,
who has had tons of run-ins with police before, suddenly has another. Yeah, that is very, very suspicious.
We just did a 4-month national tour, as you know, as for this campaign, as the exploratory tour. Didn't get pulled over a single time.
Wow.
But then when we announced, you know, twice within an hour, and I was traveling just with my dog Baloo, and so just to get to the analysis, because I don't want to you know, be, oh my God, they came after me for political reasons, and it was, you know, because we don't know. But we can kind of assign probability here, because Officer Garcia, as arrogant, as uneducated, as rude, as aggressive, as you know, anti-constitution, as anti-freedom as he might be, I don't think he is so dumb as to violate police procedure and Fourth Amendment protection so blatantly on camera and not back down without there being some other motivation, somebody else ordering him to come after me. So, you know, maybe there's a 5-10% chance, just coincidence, and he's really dumb. I met him. He's mean, but he's not a moron. Like, he wasn't drooling, you know.
Sure. Well, Adam, let me stop you there. I do want to say, you know, a lot of times these things do come down from the top. And I want to point out before we go to break that how peculiar is it to be pulled over for going 9 miles over the speed limit in Texas? I don't think I've ever seen anybody going less than 10 miles over the speed limit in Texas. We need to take a quick moment off. We're going to come back and let Adam finish telling us about his Texas adventure here in a few minutes. Of course, Adam Kokesh is a Libertarian candidate for president in 2020, running on the platform of the peaceful dissolution of the federal government. We'll be right back. You're watching The Honest Media. Welcome back to The Honest Media. My special guest today is Adam Kokesh, Libertarian candidate for president, and of course I have Craig Chrysler here. Adam, I don't want to waste any time, so I'll let you go. I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you. Tell us the conclusion of this story and where you're going with the future.
Sure, I appreciate it. And just to finish that statistical analysis, you know, if it's a 5-10% chance that this really was all coincidence and that Trooper Garcia really is that dumb and that bad of a police officer to commit all of these violations on video and not back down, it's just a question of where did the orders come from. Because it could have come from himself. He could have been alerted by another officer, the one who stopped me, you know, 40 minutes prior, that, hey, this this activist is coming through, you know,
Absolutely.
and he makes cops look bad on video, and we should teach them a lesson. You know,
Sure.
it could have been something as petty as that. All the way to someone sitting at Donald Trump's right hand going, hey, this guy has a message that is going to get out there if we don't stop it, and we need to do everything we can to stop it. So let's slow him down and smear him with some false charges. You know, I'm just glad they didn't try something like putting kiddie porn on my laptop.
Right.
But the thing is, at this point, people know who I am.
Sure.
You know, I'm a national public figure. People don't trust anything the government has to say about me. So I'm really glad that I have that protection. I wish everybody had that protection. So when they detained me, they were asking questions they had no right to, even though I challenged them. I said I do not consent to a search. They pulled me out of the vehicle. They brought a drug dog to alert on the vehicle. And this is where you see one super egregious, ridiculous violation of basic, rights. What they were doing is, drug dogs are not just for detecting drugs. They're really to give police officers an excuse for probable cause to search.
Absolutely.
And in this case, when they had the dog walking around my vehicle, they left my dog in the vehicle. And so while the drug dog is, alerting to the door to my vehicle, and I have video from the other side, my dog is in there whining at the door. Of course the
because
drug
there's
dog
a dog
is
outside.
So, I mean, it's just... It really was one of the most, egregious things, except what I've noticed that is really shocking since this has happened is that this is actually a pretty typical experience in Texas, and particularly in Wise County. On the
really? You were in Wise
corridor.
County? Wow, yeah. There was a Libertarian woman a few years ago who had almost an identical situation happen. Pulled out of her car, thrown into a jail, 4 or 5 days, no charge. Wow, that is unbelievable.
I was unaware that there was a parallel case of another libertarian, but what I've heard, I've gotten about a dozen emails and Facebook messages from local residents who go, yeah, I know that trooper. He did something very similar to me. Wow. And I'm just really glad you caught him on video, and I'm glad you're challenging him. And it just, it really is sad because a lot of the people in Wise County are afraid to stand up, and that's so sad that they are intimidated. So hopefully with my case we're going to be able to do something about that. But anyway, I got taken to jail, I got booked in, but not really. They never presented me with any paperwork. I refused to bond out because the bond racket there, it's a shakedown. And I eventually got bonded out for free by a friend after getting the bond reduced by over 75%, which just shows you what a racket it is. That they're really just trying to shake people down when they arrest them. It's like, hey, we're going to kidnap you and hold you for ransom, basically. Because if you should be locked up, and I'm not against locking people up who are a dangerous threat. Absolutely, that's a legitimate social function.
Absolutely.
But if they deserve to be, if they're a threat, they shouldn't be able to buy their way out of jail. That's insane.
Right.
You're dangerous, but if you give us $10,000, you can go out and murder and rape and pillage all you want again. So
Well, Adam, I want to stop you there because that leads us into a good discussion on why, specifically, Craig and I agree so much with the Libertarian platform on drugs because police departments, and it's terrible motivations, but they are, to an extent, for-profit entities just like everybody else. They need money, they need equipment, they need cars, they need
fill
repairs.
the privately owned prisons.
Right. Well, so they do things like that where they collect all that bail money. They make a significant amount of money. Police around the country, they do from asset forfeiture. When they arrest a drug dealer, they take the Escalade, they take the stacks of hundreds, they take all that stuff. It doesn't go sit in an evidence locker. It gets sold at police auctions, and they use that money.
Or it disappears into their wallet.
Right, and it disappears if you have an unscrupulous police officer. And so tell us a little bit about, this ending this war on drugs, which for some reason Jeff Sessions is just very excited over continuing and expanding back to 1980s levels. How would ending the war on drugs as a libertarian belief set, tell us about the many ways that would help society?
Well, if I may answer first with the foundation of this, and you guys say that you're appreciative of this perspective, I would like to start with the philosophical foundation of this, which is ethics. You own yourself, therefore it's wrong to hurt people and take their stuff. It's a violation of that self-ownership. So, you have the right to decide what you put in your own body.
Sure.
And, you know, in another interview recently, Ernie Hancock asked me, what's your motivation? Is it drugs? Is it gun? Is it war? You know, and it's like, no, it's justice. You know, I'm an activist first and foremost, and I think that the definition of an activist is someone who is motivated by a deep-seated sense of injustice. And when you look at human suffering in the world and that which is caused by injustice as opposed to just nature, obviously government is the greatest source of the greatest suffering throughout the world. And there are a few big areas in which this takes place. You know, one is in war, obviously.
Sure.
War is always a crime. It's poor men dying in rich men's wars. It's always the case. It's always based on lies. So that's a huge motivator for me as a war veteran myself, or rather a veteran of the occupation of Iraq in 2004 in Fallujah. Then there's the financial stuff, you know, and the ripping of people off through the Federal Reserve System in a way. It's mostly by trickery, deceit, where most Americans have no idea how the monetary system works.
It's just too complicated.
Right. Yeah, it's too complicated. And as a result, everybody who uses the dollar is stolen from every time they create more in Washington, D.C. And now we have the alternative and Bitcoin-based cryptocurrency. So that racket is fortunately coming to an end. And then the next affront is well, I guess it's part of the money one, but in limiting economic opportunities through regulations. You know, that's impossible for the average person to start a business without the capital and overhead and permission from the banks and cooperation from the government and things like that. And that's really sick that so many businesses don't exist today. Opportunities weren't there for so many people. Because of the overhead costs imposed by government. But then you get to the drug war, and that's like civil liberties, that government actually violently interferes with your ability to decide what you put in your own body. And the consequences of this is that you have black markets, as you do with everything that people want legitimately, that government makes illegal. And in black markets, you have turf wars, you have lesser quality, you have lesser accountability, and all the problems that go along with this. Although, you know, the greatest thugs in the drug war are not MS-13. Yes, MS-13 does some horribly just disgusting, violent things, but they're a blip on the radar compared to the evil of government, the violence of the war on drugs, of arresting innocent people.
Yeah, how many times has the CIA been caught bringing drugs into the country? So.
Well, yeah, I mean, even then, you know, they blame MS-13, but, you know, who was it that was responsible for the crack epidemic in L.A. in the 80s? That was the CIA.
Absolutely.
And the manipulation of these markets by government is obviously for the benefit of the few at the expense of the many. And whatever you want to say about problems with drugs, you don't have the right to enforce your choices on other people. And right now we have 3 primary legal drugs in the United States: nicotine and caffeine and alcohol, and they all feed into statism. You know, work hard, die young, forget that you're a slave.
Absolutely.
And that's right there: caffeine, nicotine, alcohol. Work hard, die young, forget that you're a slave.
Yay.
And so those are drugs that the establishment likes being out there, and the government supports it using. The problem with marijuana, especially since it's been illegal for so long, is that you cannot smoke pot and not realize that the government is totally full of crap.
That it's kind of a joke, especially when it comes to telling us what we should and should not put into our bodies, because it's fairly innocuous, and it's not it's not this great evil that they wanted us to believe back in the 1950s. Adam,
and if I may, just one more thing, it's not just about drug freedom to recreationally control the state of your mind. This is about health and wellness as well. And we know that marijuana has incredible health benefits, but I can say as a combat veteran that it has saved not just my life probably, but countless lives of veterans who have come home. And it was really disgusting to see Donald Trump in his State of the Union say that he wants Americans with terminal diseases to be able to seek experimental treatment in the United States without having to go abroad. But if you're a veteran suffering from PTSD, when we have 20 plus veteran suicides a day, we're not going to let you smoke pot, the most effective treatment for controlling symptoms at least. We're not going to let you explore therapy with MDMA, which has been proven to cure PTSD, or with psilocybin mushrooms, which have been proven to have long-term effects that mitigate the impact of PTSD. We're going to keep the good stuff away from you so that we can keep pumping you with pharmaceuticals and keep profiting from that. Because when I went to the VA and I told them I was having trouble sleeping,
they handed you a fistful of pills, right?
Little paper bag, 5% prescriptions.
Well,
3 of them had suicide listed as a side effect.
Absolutely, and it is horrifying, and I tend to agree, and I am hopeful that we don't have all of the information. Of course, President Trump has decades ago praised the idea of legalization, disempowering the cartels. Again, there have been people in the administration who have said that this is part of a long-term goal to get Congress to actually repeal the, 1915 Stamp Act, whatever it is. But in any case, it does put people like you who are suffering right now in a very difficult situation, and I think a lot of people out there sympathize and empathize with that. Adam, tell us, how can people get in touch with you? You're suing the Texas police who were responsible for your arrest. In our last minute or so here, tell us how people can get involved, how people can stay up with what you're doing, and how they can support you.
Yes, thank you. We're also going to be suing the sheriff of Wise County, who runs a jail that is certainly out of any humane standards in the United States. And all of that money, none of it will go to myself or my political causes. All of it will go to pay restitution to the other victims of the war on drugs here in Wise County. And my website, my main website, where you can get my book that lays out the philosophy for free, it's called Freedom, is at thefreedomline.com. That's 3 words, thefreedomline.com. Please go check it out. And from there, you can find kokeshforpresident.com, if you remember Kokesh. If not, just go to thefreedomline.com. You can find Adam versus the Man, my media production, all my social media stuff, the campaign website from there. And I would invite everyone to check out this platform of how we are proposing to dissolve the federal government. And what we're doing is, we used to say I'm running for not president for legal reasons, but also because it's more accurate to say that we are turning the presidential election into a referendum on whether or not the federal government should be allowed to exist. I would be going in as a bankruptcy agent, and the first thing I would do is resign to become custodian of the federal government of the United States of America for the purpose of carrying out the dissolution laid out in that executive order.
And you've told me before that you're well aware this may not happen in 2020, but sooner or later the world is going to catch up to libertarianism. There's definitely a trend, and I wish you all the luck in the world. Adam, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you very much again, Tom. Appreciate it.
All right, we've got to take a quick moment off. You're watching The Honest Media. We'll be back in the next few minutes.